Welcome everyone to another episode of Kickin with Kachi, where we highlight individuals that are really taking their industry by storm. And today we have legendary celebrity fashion stylist and designer, creative model, photographer as well, and owner of More Studios Life. We have Blvk Indigo. Blvk Indigo, thank you so much for coming in and kicking it with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm so excited to tap into this network and yeah, let's kick it.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm a kicky type of guy, you feel me? So obviously, if you guys don't know who Blvk Indigo is, they are, like I said, a stylist based in Atlanta. So first and foremost, fashion, right? We know that if you guys go to Morph Studios, their bio is there. You can read the whole beautiful narrative that you spoke about how you got into fashion. But I wanted specifically to the part where you were saying that your mom was not buying you the name brand things, and I can agree with that. My parents are Nigerian, so it was very much like, I'm not getting you the Aeropostale, the Hollister, right? How did that sort of impact your versatility, creativity, and just ability to, find those hidden gems? Because hey, my mom is not, like you say, my mom is not buying me Jordans. So how did that affect that?
I definitely feel like that took me to a place where I really had to tap into resources and try to figure out what's the easiest way to get the things that I want for less. And I feel like that's the same thing I utilize now and styling and things like that. So for me, it was really big to go to the thrift store. Me and my mom, we went thrifting every weekend. And my mom was adamant, 8 a.m. We weren't just thrifting, we were 8 a.m. thrifters. So that means we're waking up early in the morning, inventory's still fresh, and we're kind of picking through those gems. And I think that's where my mom kind of started to teach me about brands and what things are really good.
Oh, hold on. It kind of cut off from me. Oh, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right, great. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah, that was weird. Okay, we'll continue. Sorry.
But yeah, we were 8 a.m. thrifters, so we would go to thrift stores. My mom would really start to teach me about different brands and teach me about what things were really good to have, what things weren't, what things are cheaper quality. So I feel that's when I learned about quality control and what I should try to find within the thrift store. And I feel I utilize those skills to really be able to okay, I know that I can go in here and now I'm at the place where I can go in the thrift store and I can kind of look
right
and know exactly what piece is gonna make sense for me to spend my money on. I feel now I've kind of leaned more into sometimes I lean more into more expensive stuff, but I still utilize sustainability. And I feel the baseline for all the things that I've done is sustainability. So being able to go in a thrift store and pull the pieces that I want, or go and find something that's very unique that you're not going to be able to find, mainstream, or something that somebody made, or making things myself. So I feel those little things were really helpful, really, really helpful. And even though it was frustrating because you're young, you're I just know what everybody else has on.
Right.
The baseline is I want to look nice. Everybody else got on polos. People are bullying me.
Oh, right, exactly, right.
I'm not up to par with what's going on right now. I need to find a way to still look cool, still stay fresh. And then it became you just can't care what everybody else has to think, because I think my personal style started to lean more eclectic. And so everybody's not gonna be hip to that,
Right.
Back when I was thrifting wasn't cool.
Right.
You broke, you gotta go to the thrift store. But now everybody thrifts. It's like a mainstream thing. People are thrifting and flipping. So it's very interesting to see how much times have changed and how much things have evolved.
And it's great as you talk about accessibility as well as tapping into higher end luxury brands and luxury styling. Because if you guys don't know, if you guys wanted to get their expertise consultation, you could email them, but also there's a very accessible Google Doc that's just literally in your bio, right? styling for photo shoots, magazines, fashion shows, but also styling for the average person, right? Going through their closet. Is that, do you also attribute having to do that for yourself?
Yeah.
Weapon to be in those different spaces where like, okay, I can style the person next door to me and also the person that has to do a photo shoot for Supreme New York.
Yeah, so I think like it's a few things. So you look in I think like everyday styling is more is just like different type of like help. I feel like I got into
Right,
styling more for the consulting piece and the ability to be able to help people's lives change dynamically. Like changing a person's personal style, a lot of people don't have it or they want to have it or they want to achieve it just like I did when I was younger. That was something that I really wanted to achieve. Like I wanted to have be very fashionable and all these
right,
things. But they don't really know how to get there. Or they don't really know like what they're looking for. So for me, like I think, yeah, being able to do that for myself really helped me to be able to like push that, but also just being very personable. Like I feel like being able to like understand like, okay, this is like what a person like wants and needs, even like because I went to school, I guess, for it too, like understanding like kind of how the brain processes things and like naturally what we gravitate towards, like once you kind of discover like who a person is. So I kind of start with the baseline of trying to like discover who a person is. And that's the same thing I did with myself is like kind of just trying to figure out who I wanted to be and how I wanted to present
right.
myself in the world. Which evolves and change. And I think that's the fun thing about fashion. Like you don't always have to present yourself in the same way. Like sometimes I might give more masculine, sometimes I might give more feminine, sometimes I might fall in the middle, but being able to like be very comfortable in all of those spaces so that I can also help other people to be comfortable in all of those spaces. So yeah, I think like for the baseline for me, it was all about helping the people. Like I want to see people win. I want to see people feel confident and look good. And I think that like I said, once I do like that discovery piece and kind of getting to know who they are, that's how I can help them. Same
Right.
thing helping large clients is like what do you want to establish like in this, like what are you trying to push, like what do you want your brand to say, what do you want this to say, like those are the same things, the same questions I ask, like no matter how big the brand is, if they're my neighbor or if they're like a large brand.
Right, right, right. And that actually brings up a couple questions that I had as well. And first, right, you speak about the expression of fashion through, it can be more masculine, it can be more feminine, but even in those spheres, there's a lot of gray areas, right? Like
Right.
what determines to be more masculine and more feminine. Like it's such a minute spectrum that how has fashion allowed you to exploit that and do it for your own personal comfort, but then also in presenting yourself as a professional and making people also comfortable with your consultation?
Yeah, I think for me, I just kind of I understand how expansive like gender can be or presentation gender presentation can be. And I think like trying to lean towards people that are also like okay with being able to like explore different things um
Right,
has really helped me because I don't feel like I'm everybody's stylist, and I think that that's okay. Like you don't have to be everybody's stylist. Like I might not be, like I have a lot of opportunities, I feel like, to style certain people, but it's like if I don't feel like this is something that is going
right,
to is going to be able to push the limits of like my styling and being able to like you're not expansive enough to be able to like wear different things or be comfortable, then sometimes I have to like turn those opportunities down. So I don't usually look for like hyper masculine I don't usually look for like hyper masculine people or like hyper masculine opportunities or even like super super high feminine opportunities. I usually thrive somewhere in the middle,
in the middle, right,
but I am okay. Like the thing is with like being able to understand the whole spectrum is you can push your spectrum, right? So I can do the high fin and I can do the like very very deep mask, but like the place where I feel like is the most beautiful is somewhere in between all of those things, and being able to play with different silhouettes, being able to play with different styles. I'm grateful that I feel like now fashion has changed and like morphed into kind of like that place somewhere in the middle. And I feel like that's been seen, no matter like if you're a rapper or like a singer or how you kind of present, and gay, straight, it doesn't really matter. I feel like now they've kind of been playing with like different silhouettes, skirts, and like hair, and like all these different pieces that have evolved fashion a lot like over the last few years. And it's really beautiful to see, because I feel like it also allows for other people to feel more comfortable doing it, like as they're starting to see it more in mainstream media. But I still think that there's like this large gap of
Right.
like,
I mean, obviously, we can't undo 300 years of fashion
you can't,
oppression.
right. It's there's still this large gap of oppression, and like this large gap of misogyny, this large gap of things that have kind of like worked people's minds into believing that like you can't you can't dress in those mediums. Like you have to dress at extremes.
Right.
And even for me, like coming out, like I feel like when I originally, because I am queer, and I feel like originally when I came out as queer, I wanted to dress at extremes because it
Right.
was like you had to choose a side. Like you can't be this and that. It was like you
Right.
have to stand for that. And I feel like ultimately we all fall within all of these beautiful pieces of ourselves that fall somewhere along the spectrum. And you don't have to ever be at an extreme. We're all none of us are monoliths, you know. So we
Right.
all kind of like have all of these stories and all of this life that kind of plays into like where we fall on these spectrums. And I feel like being able to express yourself on wherever you fall is important. So
Right. And it's interesting how even in your own personal journey, like, and marrying fashion, right, you also have to shed probably a lot of internalized misogyny and patriarchy, as we all probably have to do growing up and seeing, okay, if I want to dress a certain way or look a certain way, I have to also present and act a certain way as well. And also harder for a lot of people in the queer community when you do come out, there is an expectation of, if you say you like girls, okay, you can't like guys anymore. If you're bi, okay, then there's a connotation in that, right? So trying to break out of that shell of saying, no, this is a spectrum. This also is a life experience, and it's also a journey in itself, in becoming who you are. And then as you now, right, are in probably one of the biggest fashion districts, fashion capitals in the country, Atlanta, how has that impacted your personal style and your own personal expression and creativity?
yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all cracks back to I was not raised in the city, but I was raised right outside of Atlanta. So I feel
Right.
like you get to experience all the culture and stuff. I would say more so now I've experienced it as an adult, which is completely different. And I feel like now there's been such a dynamic impact because I've experienced so many different types of people. Like I said, I've experienced so many people on all of the extremes. I live in a very diverse building. So I kind of get to experience different types of people that I never experienced before. I think going to Howard was like just like a little
A
sprinkle
little
of
drop.
a drop in a large, large pool. But I think getting to understand more about like music, getting to understand more about culture, I've been really tapped into like underground artists and like artists that are like really flourishing and starting to like put themselves out there. Those are the people that I generally like try to work with, and not
Right.
because like it's not because for me, I don't look at styling like I'm I'm not gonna say like I don't want to get paid, but like for me, it's more so like I'm looking at, all right, like these people, the longevity in certain things, and like being able to really tap into the people that like are still new. Like I don't care what
Right.
you look like right now, because if I'm interested in like who you are as a person, I'm interested in like where I feel like I can kind of like shape and help you go and grow as a person, as an artist, as a whatever. I feel like that's how I kind of like maneuver. But I feel like there's so much like Atlanta like culture in between like Air Force Ones, and like we have
Right.
tour day, and we have like all of these big kind of like tentpole moments. And I feel like I'm always tapped into the community. I'm always tapped into new designers. I'm always tapped into like people that are like just jumping off, people that are small and unseen, like nobody even knows them. Those are the brands I'm finding. Those are the people I'm like
Right.
tapping in to like work with. Like, oh, nobody knows about your brand. Bet. Let me buy from you, and like really helping to like support them and whatever they need. And like, I think that being a stylist, you get an opportunity to like go into a lot of new stores and like
Right.
with like different owners and kind of like I said, just really taking every opportunity that I get to just like talk to people, get to know them, and then getting to see like where I kind of fit into their world. Because I think life is about collaboration. It's about coming together. It's about helping each other out. I'm big on like community, so I'm always trying to tap into my community, those around me. I feel like that's what really drives Atlanta culture. That's what really drives like us being like one of the. I would say Atlanta is like definitely one of the blackest cities.
Oh yeah,
A
definitely.
lot of like wealthy black people, and you don't get to see that everywhere. So like really tapping into like the community and just trying to figure out, okay, like what do y'all need? How can we benefit each other? And then moving from there.
Oh no, and that's dope. And I would say, like, coming into being a black person and now being in this black community, right? It's also though a massive struggle as you are building a brand solely for yourself, right? I do graphic design as well on the side. You do modeling, designing, creative direction, all this stuff. All that is under you. How did you sort of create the steps, or when did you decide to make the steps and create a plan to legitimize this creative passion? Right? There's obviously this switch where it's like, okay, this thing I'm really passionate about, but I need to get paid because
Yeah.
I can't live in my mama basement drawing pictures on my sketchbook no more. I need to, I need to get paid.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I would say this. I was in a relationship and I feel like that
Okay.
relationship, like not like we're not even together anymore, but I'm not gonna lie, that relationship really pushed me outside of my bounds of like what I thought I could do. And I think that that was like something that was very beneficial in that relationship because I feel like that person was a dreamer and like they dreamed more than I did. Like what I thought I could do, like I was just like, okay, like I have this, I have these skills and that's
Right,
cool.
right,
I feel like they were like, oh no, like they were kind of on their like journey very, very heavily. And then they were like, okay, so like, are you gonna actually do it or are you gonna talk about
right,
it? So I feel
right.
like that encouraged me to just like be a more action oriented when it came to my business because I didn't really look at it as something big. And I think a lot of times we don't look at ourselves as big when you're talented. Sometimes
Hey,
you see
say it.
yourself
Say it.
small and like
Right.
you're not like the largest stylist in the world or you're not styling everybody and their mom. You can look at yourself as small, but it's like nothing that you do is small. And I think once I kind of stopped playing small, then it served me better. The moment that I stopped
Right.
trying to like, okay, I can just be a background person, or I can just like, I don't have to be seen, I don't have to be known, I don't have to like. The moment that I became the person that's like, all right, I'm gonna put myself in the forefront. I'm gonna make sure I talk
Right.
to the people. I'm gonna make sure I go to this event, and I'm gonna make sure I reach out. I'm gonna make sure I follow up with these people. That's when I started to see like, okay, like there's fruits in this. There's fruits in this. Until I got like my first retainer client or like my first large gig, and also like making sure like I'm educating myself and finding other people
Right.
in the industry that can kind of like help guide me because I think for a minute I didn't really know how to tap in.
Right. I would
Even
say
as
right.
an adult, like being an adult is a completely different world, and I just feel like the
Child.
transition from like okay college to like adulthood, and then realizing oh I have bills to pay, oh I can make
Right.
another stream of income, oh like I can still do this and still because like day to day I work in tech. No, most
Right.
people don't know that. I work in tech. I work in advertising. So it's another way
Mm.
for me to understand the consumer. That's how I look at it. It's another way for me to understand like how to consult people, how to give people what they need, how to make sure like I'm following up, how to send those emails, how to format certain things. Um, and I work in social media, so a lot of it is like advertising on social media and understanding how that
Right.
works. So now I can also guide people on, okay, this is what people are looking
Right.
for and how you need to lay out your content in order for people to see it. So whenever I'm coming from that mind, I'm also coming from the mind of changing your image. This is how you can make money from your image
Right.
being shaped. So this is kind of like where you want to go if you want to stay within the bounds of like what you want and also like what you need out of this experience. So I feel like that's all been like very beneficial. It's kind of just like you have to tap in and like be a learner. And like you have to stop playing small. You have to stop thinking that you're small, and then just kind of go for it. Because if you don't start, there's never gonna be a anything.
Right. And I
But
would say I always tell myself I would never want to be 45 with my kids and doing what job I know I'm in love because I ain't that type of dude to not do what I love. Like you say, you're in tech, but then not transferring those skills when I'm 25, 22, 23 to something that I was insanely passionate about, right? Like my
yeah,
dad's Nigerian. He's very much like, oh, I could have been a soccer player, but my knee, you know.
yeah,
So never having those stories where, I could have been something but
yeah,
not. So
yeah.
what would you what would you consider yourself to be? Because like I said, you're a stylist, you're a model, you're a photographer, you're a creative designer, and then you also are doing tech and marketing, right? And doing advertising and a social media management. So what would you sort of label yourself as now, or can you not label yourself as?
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I'm not here for kind of like living in a box. So, like I said, I think everything is a spectrum, right? So, when I
Right,
talk about spectrum, I also talk about like all the abilities that I kind of just like marry together. I don't think there's necessarily a name, but I think my ultimate goal is to be able to offer a like so the basics of my brand have started off with fashion, but that's
right,
just a small piece of like the brand that I have started more studios, which is
right,
more into a full service creative agency. And I feel like me being able to kind of understand certain things and understand how things work is also going to help me be a better leader, and being able to also like tell other people like what I need out of them, and being able to establish like what that looks like for me, and then being able to like transfer that into like everything else that I do. Because I think ultimately maybe I don't have to do everything, right? But
hmm,
having the knowledge of how to do things is very helpful when you're trying to like delegate. And so
right,
for me, I know that like, all right, I'm okay with learning how to do the things for myself. Does that mean I want to? No.
right.
But I'm okay with like I understand how things work. I understand how to do things for myself, and I also know that like people need people don't want to always have to go out and source things from every which where. So
Right,
being able to have like a home that kind of owns, okay, I can go to this one studio, and I can get styled. I can have a photographer, a videographer, creative director, that all is in house. So it's like I can just source this one a studio in order to kind of take
right,
care of everything. And then past that, they have their own people that work for the studio that are able to like come in and take care of things. So I think that just makes things more streamlined. It makes the processes a lot easier. And I feel like trying to get all those moving pieces in production are always more difficult. Production, when it comes to like music videos,
oh
content,
my god, right,
they are last minute. And I think people don't understand like the industry, they will plan that 2 days before.
oh
Same
my goodness,
like so like a lot of times when I'm styling for like a music video or something, they're calling me the night before and asking me,
oh
"Are you
wow,
available tomorrow?" Like for this amount of time, or like maybe 2 days before, and that's if you're lucky. So it's
right,
like being able to say like, okay, there's a full service production team and kind of like creative team that's already in house, so you don't have to go and source all of these things. Will just make the process so much more streamlined, because then it's like, okay, like there's already expectation on these people that they'll work, and everything's already provided for you, so you don't really have to kind of go and find all of those things last minute, especially when it's last minute, because trying to find clothes to pull,
my god,
trying to like get makeup artists, trying to get videographers, photographers, trying to get PAs, like all of these things, these moving pieces that you need in production are super hard to like get last minute. And a lot of times like people work with what they have. You know what I'm saying? Like
right, right.
if it's 10 people that show up, it's 10 people. If it's 15 people, it's just like now you kind of working that every job thing. So I think
Right.
that ultimately that's what I'm leaning towards. So right now it's just more about developing like all the different pieces and doing it well. When I'm starting my brand, I want to establish it very well. I want my clothing line to be like well established, like those things. Um and yeah, like attainable too. So I just
Right.
want
Right.
like very, very much like well established and attainable. So I don't really think of myself as like, oh, under this name. I just think of myself as
Right.
creative. And yeah, I
You
just
just create, honestly.
I just create. So in whatever aspect that looks like for me, like I just do it.
Well, on a more concrete level, what can we look forward to now that we're, I guess, in this, we just finished the first half of the year, now into the second half. First of all, happy belated birthday. I'm not a Gemini, I'm a Cancer, but I'm right next door. So,
Okay. Okay, Cancer.
so now that you're done, we're in our quarter century, as we all say now, right? Like, what can we look forward to as your supporters, your audience, and now your new fans from Black Indigo?
Yeah, so I think right now, I have just like worked on a music video recently that's dropping next week. With
Here's a
I
video dropping next week. Hold on, we gotta get the artist. We gotta get hold on,
yeah,
what song so I can know where to get with, or is it NDAs?
it's a little NDA, but I will
Okay.
say it's with Rilo. So
Okay.
music video dropping next week. Um, I am still working on my clothing line that should be dropping next year because I just wanted to give myself enough time to really like concrete plan. But I've been working on that for a while and like really like pushing this studio. So yeah, that's basically and more content because I'm
Of
always
course.
creating. So just know like yeah, stuff is on the way for sure in the next coming weeks, months, year.
Okay,
Like
okay, okay.
y'all will be getting what y'all asked for. And I'm not just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it really well. So
Mm-hmm.
just looking forward to those drops because those clothing drops are gonna sell out. I'm telling you now. It's gonna be a thing of get it before it's gone because it's gonna be gone. So I
Hey,
just
listen, you do you have wait, all right. So on Kickin with Kachi, I like the exclusive. So if you got any samples, anything lying around, you know what I'm saying, send it to my DMs. I ain't gonna tell nobody, but I'm gonna know what I'm gonna be looking
yeah,
out for automatically.
yeah, for sure. I definitely will. But exclusive definitely working towards that. So I started like now finally pushing everything that I was supposed to be doing for so long. But it's just like a thing of making sure everything is, like I said, done well.
Right,
Um, not looking for perfection, but I am looking to make sure things are done how they're supposed to be done the first time.
right.
Because I don't want to have to go back. So
You try to grow, you try to elevate, and hey,
yeah,
that's
we trying.
all it is.
I wanted to. I want people to be like, yeah, this is yeah. Thank.
Yeah.
It was worth the wait. You know,
But
it was like SZA's album coming
oh
out.
my God.
Finally
My
dropped.
God.
That's what it's gonna feel like, and that's okay for me because that's why she was selling out large
Uh-huh.
stadiums. People was in there. You know why? Because she waited. She was like, "I'm gonna just take my time," and that's okay. I feel like I'm gonna take my time, but I'm gonna make sure that when everything hits, it's gonna be like,
Yeah,
"Yo,
what they say in Atlanta, they be like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,"
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you already know."
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. But thank you so much, Black Indigo, for coming in, kicking with me. This is real cool. This is real dope. And honestly, I'm glad that I was able to talk to you on the because I be seeing on the Instagram. This is why I love this job because I can now be the fangirling over the people that I get to interview and I can talk to y'all and speak to y'all. So I love that. Thank you for coming in and blessing me with the conversation.
for sure. Nah, I'm the one that's blessed. So thank you again for the opportunity. And yeah,
And you guys can follow Black Indigo at Black Indigo. That's not Black BLACK, that's BLVK because they're different. And at morphstudios.life on Instagram as well, so that you can make sure you catch their exclusive drops and that fashion line coming soon, coming very, very soon. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen because I like to keep secrets. I got my own NDA going. But here at Kickin' with Kachi, I'm Kachi the Analyst. You can catch out this interview on the DC Voice at the DC Voice on Instagram and the DC Voice on YouTube. Blvk Indigo, once again, thank you so much, and we're out of here. Peace.